Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in on this very fine Monday afternoon. Kathy Holmes here from Act 3. So glad that you've tuned in today because today we're going to talk about Shine 2022. And in the Zoom booth with me today is the founder of Volume Studios and Shine 2022. We're going to break it all open right now. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, Dean, how are you, my friend?
Great, Kathy. How are you?
I'm delicious. Thank you, as always. I am so excited about Shine 2022, as is our community, because there's some really, really fantastic stuff coming September 17th at the Vancouver Island Convention Center. Why don't we break it open? And why don't you tell us all about how this vision came to you in the first place?
Well, my husband and I started Volume Studio in 2011.
Yeah.
The idea was to unite charitable organizations with the community and therefore benefit these charitable organizations and the community in general.
Yeah.
But it's a personal journey for me, for sure. I wanted to start this to say thank you to the institution, St. Paul's Hospital, that was there. They opened their hearts and their doors during the HIV/AIDS epidemic. They were one of the few hospitals that did so. In fact, it was the Sisters of Providence that said, it doesn't matter who these boys are or their lifestyle or their orientation. It's really just about compassionate care. So long story short, I nearly died in the late 80s of AIDS myself. And I really watched community rally together. I mean, of course, science, I'm a big believer in science, and
Yeah, of
science did
course.
save my life, right?
Yes,
But
yes.
it was the community that forged together. A lot of people didn't care, right? They were gay men dying of AIDS. So a lot of people marched down the streets with placards demanding social services, demanding financial services for research, and just really providing and demanding compassionate care. And I saw the power of community. And when I got better myself, I had the second chance at life. And I thought, you know what? There's a lot of people out there who are being stigmatized by situations they're in, and they need support by community. So we started Volume Studio, and we've been really lucky to unite a lot of communities together to support the community.
Well, there's such a huge history for and personal journey that you went through to get you to this place where you have been so philanthropic. It's my understanding that to date you've raised almost $5 million for communities on the Lower Mainland, and now that you're at Nanaimo, that this legacy is continuing, uh, and hopefully we'll be receiving those kinds of dollars walking in the future, because it's my understanding as well. This isn't the first year that we're going to do it, but it is the inaugural year, correct?
Yeah, for sure. This is our first year here. When my husband and I moved here, it became very obvious to me quite quickly that there was a
Yeah.
large demographic of youth that needed support. And with our history and our experience, we just got into gears and we decided to create this fundraiser. But this fundraiser is still very active in Vancouver, and we also will be
Yes.
launching this in Victoria as well. There's no shortage of communities that need support, and there's no shortage of young artistic members of the community that want to give back. So it's just a really nice formula. And, first year, maybe we'll raise $100,000, but as history has proven itself, every year we raise more money and we raise more awareness, which in turn removes stigma. So I think
Yeah.
it's going to be a
Yeah.
huge success. Yeah.
Well, I have no doubt that it's going to be a huge success. I think that the buzz in town right now has been absolutely extraordinary. I want to actually lay some foundation though about this, because I know that you briefly spoke about your journey with this, but I really want to, because we have the time, right? I'm really interested in breaking down what led you, step by step to this place of look coming into a community and saying, "Oh my God, there's mental health and addiction that is rampant in this town." How, what was the, I mean, I understand that you were a survivor of AIDS, that you were a survivor of HIV, pardon me, and that all of that, certainly was the stepping stone that brought you there. But lots of people say, "I want to raise money." I mean, you didn't just say, "I want to raise money." You brought together a huge, you know, incredible opportunity for people to come to a stage on their own terms and give the gift of their personalities to compute community. Were you always very artistic that way?
Well, yeah, I was my mother's sister before she passed away, told me that she recognized pretty early on that I wasn't like the rest of the boys. So I think the
Right?
writing was on the wall, and I was very artistic. I loved theater and I loved dance and I loved producing things. Even as a young kid, I'd produce these plays for my family. And yeah, for sure, I was very artistic. But I think what I've seen in my experience is I know that mental health affects everybody.
Yeah,
And as they say, 1 in 5 Canadians will personally experience mental health issues, and everyone, whether it's through a coworker or a family member or a neighbor, are going to be touched by a mental illness.
for
But
sure.
there is no surprise that in the artistic community, where people are, they're passionate and they're artistic and they've got a lot of flair and a lot of emotions, there's also a lot of risk for being stigmatized, for being not being accepted, for maybe being considered the black sheep of the family. And some
Yeah,
of those sort of labels can lead people to having mental health issues, which also can lead to addiction. And I just noticed in the artistic community in general that there were a lot of people that needed support.
yeah,
And because I grew up in that artistic community and I had gone through my own situations, I felt that it would be pretty interesting to try to navigate this and to see if the artistic community would like to band together to give back. And it's such an amazing formula. This Shine in Nanaimo has over 150 local actors, dancers, singers, drag queens, musicians, comedians, magicians, circus performers. To be clear, right? Like Volume Studio facilitates this show. But really, we're like the Pied Piper. We provide this platform for
yeah,
the community to express themselves on their own terms in the spirit of giving back. But it's really the community that puts in the time, the effort, the rehearsals, and it's supported by retailers and hairdressers and makeup artists. So it's just such a fun night to gather all these people together to say we want to give back.
yeah.
It's great. And not everybody can write a check, but
That's right. That's right.
lots of people can be creative. Hmm. Yeah, so
And
it's
this is a fully volunteer or, kind of show too. There's no paid, like no nothing like that, right? It's all everybody who's coming, participating, nobody's getting paid for any of this work, right?
yeah, Volume Studio is 100% nonprofit. We've just recently
Yes.
got our charitable status, our nonprofit, and we, as a team, volunteer. So I think of Volume Studio as an upside down pyramid. Okay, so actually, the people that are at the top of the pyramid are actually now at the bottom of the pyramid. So when you look at the producers, the directors, the choreographers, the decor team, the lighting, the sound, the communications, the advertising, the sponsorship, we're all at the bottom of this
Yeah.
pyramid.
Yeah.
Who's sitting at the top of the pyramid is the community, and this community gets to shine. And we just want to be there to help them give back on their own terms.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your favorite part of putting this show together?
Um, my favorite part is standing on the stage that night in front of 900 guests with 150 people waiting in the wings to come down that runway to shine. It's quite an emotional experience to see it all come together.
Yeah. Is it reminiscent to the first time you did it in Vancouver?
Well, Shine Nanaimo was definitely reminiscent of the first time I did it in Vancouver because I have been creating this from the inside of my house in a COVID nightmare.
I
So,
know, right?
I'm not really attached to the community here yet. Like, I'm so excited
Yeah.
to get out and meet all these fabulous people in the community.
Yeah.
I've been reaching out to people through email and through Zoom and going on the internet and looking up, top dance companies and hair salons and retailers and communicating with them, but I really haven't had a chance to connect with them. And I'm as COVID lightens up and we're moving into the latter phases of COVID and communities are now starting to forge together to support communities. I'm really looking forward to getting to know that. But to answer your question, this has been a really hard year to pull this together because I'm dealing with all new people and an all new community.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what a
It's
tremendous community it is. Like
I
the
know,
heart.
right?
Oh, I haven't lived in a small town since I was a kid, and
Right?
this town is filled with compassion and heart. It's so lovely.
I know. So just a little bit of a heads up to sort of support what you're saying. I moved here 12 years ago, Dean. And the reason I moved here was probably the very reason that you did. So what happened for me in those days is my former husband was a seventh Dan international karate champion. And he would come to the island. We would come to the island once a year and we would do kata and kumite and all of that stuff on the beaches up at Rathtrevor. They still go there, by the way. It's fantastic. And so when my divorce came, which is obviously not you and David, but when the divorce came for me, it was like, well, where can I go where I feel, I don't know, there's something, the energy is right. And so I thought, well, that's it. I'm just going to lock, stock, two smoking barrels and move to Nanaimo. And from the second Dean that I moved here, this is now 12 years, I have been absolutely gobsmacked by the retailers, the nonprofit agencies, the social service agencies, the people on the front line helping a community, lifting a community, rising them up from some really, really crappy stuff. You know, Nanaimo, Dean, used to be a really biker town, right? It wasn't,
Yes,
it
my
just, it looked
father
very different, right, than it does now.
my father-in-law lived here 20 years ago. He's like, I can't believe you moved to that biker
I,
town. I'm like,
well,
it's not a biker
I
town.
know, because that's how it used to be, right? And when I first moved here, I remember myself saying, I'm never moving to Nanaimo. I can't believe this.
It's
Boy,
beautiful.
it's so amazing. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. But it's because the people are so doggone beautiful, I think, right? We've really, really stepped up. So listen, I know that the money that for this, like it takes a lot of people. Like this is $1 million show. I mean, it is not something that is, just like a school play, right? This is a very, very big deal. So, if you were to put this on in any other venue, my thought is this is like a lot of money,
This
right?
is like a $200,000 production.
Right. It's huge. And
It's
so
huge.
the thing about it that I'm loving is that our community has stepped up and said, how can we help, Dean? How can we help?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Like, what have you experienced on that? I mean, I know because you and I have been talking about this now for quite a long time, but what's happened? Tell the listeners.
Well, for starters, it's not easy to find a venue to put a 32 by 24-inch stage to house 900 guests to watch a show with 150 people in it. So automatically, the Vancouver Island Convention Center came to mind. It's the right space. It's right in downtown. It's surrounded by all the retailers that are supporting it, all the hair salons that are supporting it, the
Yeah.
community that thrives around it. So we went to talk to them. Now, they're giving us the convention center for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for $3,500. This is a
Yeah.
$30,000 package. But I know through the convention center that's been brought back to me that the convention center, the people that run it, that own it, they are on board. They see the need to help at-risk youth. They see the need to help people on the street that are homeless. They see how important this project is. And I think that's the message here is that when I reached out to the hair salons and the retailers and the different sponsors that have come forward, they haven't asked how much. They've asked how. They just said, "What can we do? What
What
can
can
we
we
do
do?
to
Yeah.
support them?"
Yeah.
Right? And it's been very heartwarming to see the community forging together to do this.
Absolutely. I mean, I already knew from my own experiences that this community was pretty fantastic. What has also surprised me though is that of the tickets that are sold, like almost three-quarters of them are all gone already. Is that true? Or is it
Well,
more?
we have 2 tables left out of 50. We sold 48 tables in 35 minutes.
Wonderful.
And we have about 60 general admission seats left over. So when you think of 500 at tables, 200 in general admission, 150 cast, and 50 media and comps, we're looking at close to 1,000 people there that night. That's
Yeah.
amazing. First night, first time in Nanaimo. That's
I
incredible.
know. I don't think I've ever seen anything so large in Nanaimo in my entire 12 years being here. And I'm a little bit of a social butterfly, in all fairness. I like to go out and
No,
meet
not you,
people. Not
Kathy.
me. I know, right? But, like, I do like to see people and stuff, and I feel very blessed that I know a lot of people within community, especially those that are on the front line doing the work, that needs to be done.
Mhm.
And I think that what I'm appreciating about all this is that even the audience is coming on their own terms. So I was just talking with one of the recipients of the funding that comes from Thrive, or it comes from Shine, pardon me, last week. And that was Jeremy from AVI. I see, I put it all together into one word, thrive.
Well, we're
At
going to
any
thrive.
rate,
We are definitely going to thrive.
we're going to thrive. But what was really neat about, what he was saying, which I loved in our conversation, was how he was, suggesting how everybody really is starting to band together to help people that are on the street. Like, we've seen such an amount of sadness in the last couple of years with COVID. Marginalized populations have really been hit incredibly hard. And so he said, people are just so excited about coming to this show to celebrate. And he goes, in the audience, people are going to be dressed up in all kinds of wild and wonderful things. I
Mhm.
thought I was dressing up where I was going to be my very best drag queen to this event. I had no idea, but apparently the audience is going to get right in there as well. What
Yeah.
has been the feedback you've received so far from the people that
Well,
are planning on attending?
well, I'll talk about, why don't I talk about how the evening's going to go,
Okay,
right?
your
So,
plan.
when you arrive at 6:30, between 6:30 and 7:30 is a cocktail reception for the entire audience. There's going to be drag queens selling balloons, pop and win. There's going to be the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence selling 50/50 tickets. There's going to be some live action model character circus performers. There's a step and repeat wall. You can get your photo taken with your friends. 7:30, we're going to open the grand ballroom doors and say "Together We Shine." All 900 guests will go in and have a seat. We're very fortunate. We have the mayor coming, who's going to bless the land for us and give a little speech. We have Sheila Malcolmson, who's the Minister of Mental Health and Addiction for BC. She's going to speak. I'm going to get up and thank the community. And really, that's it. A lot of fundraisers, you go, it's long, boring speeches, rubber chicken dinners. It's like, oh my
Yes,
God, when can I get out of here, right? Well, not Shine. We are going to launch the show with an hour of full entertainment, break for a 20-minute intermission, and then finish the show with the other hour. And then we have a 70s inspired disco party. So I think people are seeing that it's camp and it's alternative and it's fun and it's got some disco feel to it. And I think people just want to put on their best, cool, fun outfits and go out and shake it up and really give back.
Well, what I love about it too is that so many people have not been able to get out. For some people, not only is this the social event of the season, but it is also for many the first time they've been out in almost 3 years, right?
Of
And
course.
so this desire to be involved and be a part of it and party and have a really good time, and you match that with it being such an extraordinary cause, right? Like, I mean, come on. So we talked to, as I said, last week we talked to Jeremy from Shine, or from AVI, and where the funding is going to. I am curious, first of all, when we think about where that money is going, what is the hope for you with all of the fundraiser? What do you think? What do you hope is going to happen with the money that is raised that night? Because it's all going to community, right? There's aside of the hard costs, everything's going to community.
Yeah, and the hard costs are minimal.
Yeah,
Um,
minimal.
So, when you think back to myself in 1986, moving to Vancouver, I met this guy. We fell in love. We had hopes and dreams. 6 months later, he was diagnosed HIV positive. He died, and I sort of realized, the writing's on the wall here for me. And I needed places to be safe. I needed places, resources. And one of the places that I went to was AIDS Vancouver. And here we are 35 years later, and now my company is raising money for the very organization that supported me and my
Yeah.
friends and the community. And I think, to answer your question, that's my goal, is I want to make sure that AVI Community Services in Nanaimo is able to continue to keep its doors open. Everybody knows that there's lack of funding federally, provincially, there's cutbacks, everyone has their hand out, everyone has needs. And I think if I can continue to pay back for the experiences that I had and be able to rally the community under our platform together, I think we're going to be able to continue to help at-risk youth. I mean, this organization is astounding, right? In the
Yes.
80s, it was all about gay men who were dying of AIDS.
Yeah,
That's not
not
what's
anymore.
happening here
No,
at the
not
community
anymore.
center. No, no, no. I mean, they're dealing with counseling, they're dealing with peer counseling, they're dealing with medications, they're dealing with medical, they're dealing with handing out basic needs. I mean, some people don't even have water or a sandwich during the day, right?
That's
These
right.
people are on the street morning, noon, and night, actively trying to support our community. I'm sure Jeremy went through all the list of wonderful things that they do, but really, when we sat down as a group and decided who should be the recipient, it was clear to us that AVI was the organization that deserved to have this financing, just because of the fact that they're on the ground. They are the ones in downtown Nanaimo that are trying to make a difference.
But they're not the only recipients.
No, 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 no. The other
No.
recipient is the Nanaimo Ladysmith School Flow Program.
Let's
Family
talk a little
Learning,
about that. Yeah, yeah.
yes, the Family Learning Outreach Wellness Program. You know, a lot of kids that don't function or thrive under brick and mortar schools that might fall under categories of being neurodiverse, maybe have some mental health issues, maybe fall under the LGBTQ2 plus, that are just not finding their way in school,
Yeah.
have an opportunity through, it's a pretty rigorous way to get into it. I know you have to go through counseling and you have to apply, but if you're lucky enough to get into this program, it's been proven that these kids graduate and they work together. You know, one of the mothers said to me, finally, my son had a voice. And I thought that was such a beautiful thing to hear, because basically the message that I'm getting is that the kids that are lucky enough to get into this program actually end up with a much better trajectory for their future. And they do graduate, whereas some of them would have fallen through the cracks. You know, there's a disproportionate amount of LGBTQ2 kids that end up on our streets. And they end up on our streets because they are neglected, they're abused, they're not valued, they're shamed. And, you know, ending up on the street is one thing, but falling prey to homelessness, to hunger, and then to drugs, because the drug dealers prey on these kids, really is, you know, well, we know the outcome. Not good, right? So we wanted to sort of look at both sides of this fundraiser. We wanted to support a community outreach program that would prevent kids from being on the street, but we also wanted to give funding to the organizations that are dealing with the at-risk kids that are on the street.
When I think about the flow program, I get a bit teary-eyed, because I know I've been in education for 35 years. And one of the things that I know for sure is that kids don't learn the same way. Some are fine, like you said, in the brick and mortar side of things. Some really are having so many challenges. Home is not safe. And so they end up finding themselves on the street. And you're quite right that it is a disproportionate amount of the population that are falling from the LGBT2 spirit community. And I get that that is really hard. But what bothers me more is, although I'm grateful for the successes, there's only 12 kids right now that are able to go through that system. It is so many people that need that. And it's just, we're blocked by
Yeah.
funding. We need more money to be able to, I mean, it blows my mind.
Yeah, there's only 12 kids, so there's 2 semesters, so 24 young adults get to access this program a year. Certainly not enough. You know, the Volume Studio goal here really is to provide a flow program in every school in Ladysmith
Yeah.
and onward. But baby steps, you know, we'll see how it goes. But I can only speak from experience. You know, you have to remember, like, I'm 60 years old, so it was illegal to be gay until 1969 in Canada.
I
So
know.
so for
Yeah.
me to go to school, I always say there's a certain demographic of youth that fall under the LGBTQ2 spirited plus community that don't have the luxury to have an authentic childhood, because they're hiding themselves within their childhood, and
Absolutely.
and they're not flourishing. And I know things have changed. I mean, now you can't turn on a TV show without seeing a gay character and thing. And you know, everyone has rights now, and things are much easier. But it's just really important that we as a community, value everybody and really understand that the diversity and the inclusion and therefore the acceptance just really provides a better mixed culture of people in the end. It fascinates me when people say to me, or I get the feeling of some sort of homophobia, and I'm thinking, yeah, but you watch Netflix, and like, what about the costume designers, and what about the hairdressers, and what about the makeup artists, and what about, like, the list goes on. Like, gay people, this isn't new to the community. It's just that gay people are just tired of being put in the closet and not being able to express themselves. And so I think one of the greatest things about the Flow program is that they accept these kids for who they are, and they allow them to be authentic. And then because of that, they flourish and they go on to greater lives.
I love that they flourish, and I couldn't agree with you more. It's also, oddly enough, the UK, if you look back in history, Shakespearean times, I, of course, loved teaching Shakespeare when I was, working in the school system. And 99% of the characters, well, not 99%, that's a high percentage, but a large percentage of the characters identify even in Shakespearean works.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the Globe, all of the dressers, women were not allowed to be on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Men had to play all the women's roles. The queer community is not an unheard of community. I do love the fact that I can turn on the television now and see such a broad representation of people. My prayer is that that continues to grow, because I do know that there's some communities still, although, that it's a bit of a rabbit hole, so I don't want to go too far down that hole, but there's still so many people that are in community that are homophobic, that are uneducated, that don't want to know about it, that are afraid still, and maybe from the stigma of 1981, like you, like me, we're in our 60. And so at this stage of our lives, we have learned to understand that it takes all kinds of people. We're part of a greater picture, and yet there's still so much hate. How do we?
Well, I mean, it's important to have role models. Everyone needs role models, right?
Everyone.
Everyone. Like, when you look back at television in the 60s and 70s and 80s, all the gay characters were either pedophiles or knife-wielding sociopaths. Or now you turn on
Right.
TV and the gay person just happens to be the neighbor, and they're not really,
Yeah,
it's not about them being gay, it's just about them being a character in the show, right?
totally.
And
Yeah.
I think that's the step here. And I think everything we're talking about today is really about just stepping back and trying not to be judgmental and navigating it using compassion, right?
Yeah.
Have conversations with people, get to know people, and understand, don't make assumptions that are outdated, and just, open your heart and learn a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Let's talk about the mental health side of things. A lot of the money is going to support mental health, and some people may not be very clear on what mental health looks like. And so I just, as a service to community, we're talking about things like disproportionate depression, right? Body I don't know the word, dysphoria, however it goes. Pardon me, if you, by all means, call in if I've said it wrong, you can certainly do that. But there's a lot of people that are uncomfortable in their own skin. This fundraiser is going to allow there to be a safe place for people to fall to talk about those issues. Is that right? Is that the?
Well, one of the things that we were very passionate about starting Volume Studio was that it had to be rooted in diversity, inclusion, and acceptance. And if you go to the show, you're going to notice that everybody in the show is very diverse, right?
Yeah.
Gender, race, creed, age, everything is very mixed, right? And again, I just go back to compassion. We live in a society that's so fast, and I worry that these young kids are constantly trying to compare themselves to the Kim Kardashians and the filters on the cameras, and who's who, and it's a lot, and like, you think statistically, like 1 in a million people is lucky enough to be Kim Kardashian if you think she's lucky. But I think what we have to start doing, and I think this is why I love the Flow program, but I think in all education, we have to start allowing people to be authentic and to teach people that they're just good enough, and that their worth is fine, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, and they get rid of that comparison side of things as well. You know, we don't need to compare. We're not running a race for other people. We're running our own race individually and trying to do the best we can. And so when you first moved to Nanaimo, did you think that you were going to bring this to the stage here? What was the motivation for you to say, okay, let's do this?
well, the motivation was I saw the unbelievable amount of youth on the streets compared to the population of our community. I
Yeah,
know, you know, the history of port cities are always challenged with mental health, addiction, drugs. It's just a fact of
yeah,
geographics globally. But I just think that this town has too many kids per population. And I don't know why, and I don't want to assume why, but I think as a community, there's enough resources and there's enough compassion here that we definitely will be able to change this. But we have to start talking about it. You know,
yeah,
kids do not end up on the street because they wake up and want to be on the street. The people end up on the street because of abuse, neglect, mental health issues, maybe some neurodiversity, maybe they got into alcohol or drugs at an early age. But it's not about why they're there. It's about they're there and how can we help them? How can we stop this process? Why are more and more kids ending up on the street? You know, I
yeah,
don't like it.
yeah. Yeah, I don't like it either. I don't like it one bit. But you know what I like a lot? I like you a lot. And I like what you're doing with this community. I'm going to take a moment for a bit of station identification here. And I'm going to invite you to get a piece of paper and a pen because at the end of the day, you're going to want to know the website so that you can get some of those tickets. There's not very many left. Get on the phone, call to action, do it right now. www.together we shine and get your ticket for the social event of the season. If you've just tuned in, thanks for tuning in. You're listening to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM right here in beautiful downtown Nanaimo. If you are wanting to participate in this program, and we're going to give you some information to do that, and also a reminder that Shine Nanaimo is only one of the social event seasons. Well, it's not the social event season, but only one of the two fundraisers that are planned for Vancouver Island coming up. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that with our guest, Dean Tholner. I'd also really love for you to see this person. Please tune in on Shaw Cable 4. Have a listen to the show called Up Front. It's quite a conversation that we have with Dean directly and with the AV representation from AVI and Flow. So by all means, tune in there. And don't forget to tune in to Act 3. Next episode is airing right now. Enjoy, enjoy. And again, thanks for tuning into the program today. Dean, this has been such an important gift to our community. I'm curious about the buzz within the hairdressing, like within the community players right now. Like how we're, I know that they've all said, yes, I want to do this. I want to be a part of this. Our community has come together beautifully. But were they, when you first started approaching them, were they like, huh? Like what were they? How did that go?
Think they were a bit intimidated by the process. You know, when we Shine Vancouver is a high end sort of New York fashion runway kind of extravaganza. And we knew as our team coming here that not only was that inappropriate, but it was actually insulting. You can't move to a community that flourishes with live music and with dance and theater and drag and burlesque and comedy and magic and push that aside and not allow them to have that platform.
Yeah, yeah,
So
very important.
when we were trying to sell it, we were selling what we already had. And when they saw it, they're like, oh my God, we don't do that here, right? So it took a while to educate everybody on
Yeah,
how we were going to cater this show to their community. And when everyone started wrapping their heads around it, everybody just started jumping on board. And it's not just the artistic community. Like we've had Save on Foods has come on board. They're giving us like thousands of dollars worth of food for the entire cast backstage. West Coast Beauty came on, stay on board. They paid for the ballroom. We've had a tremendous amount of car dealerships that have been giving us cash donations. Yeah, it's been really heartwarming. The support and also the support from, you know, like I mentioned earlier, politically, like from city council, from the mayor, from the Nanaimo chamber. Like, you know, people are asking, how can we help? What can we do here? And I think the answer to that is that everybody, it's the same thing. So many people say to me, I get it. There is a problem, but what can we do?
Yeah,
How can
exactly.
we help out? And my message to anyone who's listening here is show up, suit up, and have a conversation. Be compassionate. Take time to talk to somebody, and figure out how you can donate to the charity of your choice. Even if it's one of your Starbucks coffees a week, put it in a jar and hand it to somebody, or to donate it to your favorite charity. But a little bit goes a long way. And if everybody does a little bit, it's quite fantastic. I mean, that's the magic of Shine. There's, like, I've said this over and over in this interview, but there's 150 people going to perform that night in a 2-hour period. Well, that means there's 25 blocks in the show that are jam packed with talent, and everyone is giving with their hearts and their talent, and I think everyone in the community can do the same.
It doesn't, you're so right. And for people that are attending, because there is opportunity when you're there to be able to give as well. There's also, if the tickets do run out, in all fairness, it doesn't mean it's over. You still can give to the cause. As you said, you're a nonprofit agency now, you've got charitable status. There are ways that you can gift of your time if you cannot physically be there, right?
Mhm.
And so, and in the break, I started to talk a little bit about the Victoria show. Could you maybe give us a little insight of what's happening for that show?
Well,
I
we're
know it's
very
early stages, in all fairness. We're
early
still in the
stages.
middle. We're still in the middle of
All
this
we're
one.
doing with Victoria right now is trying to find the venue, and then
Yeah,
deciding who our recipients will be.
of
We
course.
already know that Shine Vancouver will be on June 10th, and the recipients are the Foundation of Hope, which is the support of LGBTQ refugees, and AIDS Vancouver. But we are just at baby steps with Victoria.
No, it's completely understandable. I don't want to push the package too far, but it is important that people know that there are other events, and that this is not the first time that Nanaimo is going to run this show either. It's planned to be a legacy program as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
This I've actually had the luxury of joining forces with this magnificent woman, Mariel Anderson, and she's now joined me. She's 30 years younger than me and filled with so much energy.
Yeah.
And I think her fear was that as I was getting older, this project would disappear. And she has assured me that if I decide to step down, that she'll continue this legacy. And my team, and again, this amazing volunteer team that gives with their heart and their talent, like 7 months of hard work without being paid to ensure that these kids get the support they need. And I think, that has to continue. And I don't know, like, I don't know of any other grand fundraiser like this. Like, I have done the research. I've been to a million fundraisers. I've researched it on, Googled across Canada. I don't see another platform where so many people get together and do what we are doing. And I'm so honored and so proud to see, like, we've had hundreds of thousands of people in the past 10 years dance and sing and act and perform on these stages. And as you mentioned, we've been able to raise over $5 million. We've opened up hospital beds. We've opened up a clinic for the Hope Center in Lionsgate Hospital. We opened up HIV beds at St. Paul's Hospital. We opened a clinic on Granville Street for youth to be able to walk in to get peer support. The list goes on, but this was achieved by the community, and Shine is for the community, and it's produced by the community.
Yeah.
And we will reach out to the community with the years to come to see where they think the money should go. It's not up to us. We can't ask all these people to give with their hearts and the talent and then tell them where their money's going to go.
No, no, right.
We did this year because we weren't connected, but we will get together with everybody that was involved this year and figure out where they think the money for next year would be best suited.
Yeah. Yeah. But either way, it's going to be a local production. Either way, it's going to be as fantastic as this year. We know it's going to be. I can't tell you how many people that, have said to me, what the heck is this Shine thing? Like, everywhere I go, it's Shine, 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 Shine. And there was some confusion because there are other programs within community that are also called Shine. There's dance troupes here or there and things like that. And so, in the beginning there, it was like, well, what? Like, what? But now it's like, how do I get my tickets? Like,
Right.
it's like, what are you saying? Get me my ticket. Can you pull some aside? Can you pull any strings? Do you know anybody there? So just as a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. There are people that still want those tickets. So that's great. How do people get tickets? We told people to get a piece of paper and a pen. How do they get the tickets?
www.togetherweshine.ca. Front
Yeah.
page of the website, it says get tickets, push the button, and you're good to go.
And you're
Now,
also,
there
as I
are
understand it, by the way, just one more second here because we're still talking about it. If you happen to subscribe to the Nanaimo Voyager magazine, the free publication that's produced by Judy Stephan, and it is, you are on the front page of it, and there's a
That's
fantastic
not me.
story.
That is not me on
I'm
the
sorry,
front
I'm sorry.
page.
You were not on the front page. My apologies. No, 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 no. You were not, but Shine 2022 is on the
Yes.
front page. My
Yeah.
apologies. And a few pages in, there's quite a wonderful conversation about who you are and how you got this thing going. That's not you. Although I have to tell you, there's one photo that it does look like you in drag. Have you ever done drag?
Oh
I know
God.
that it's off topic, but
No,
have you
no,
ever
no.
done
We're
drag?
not talking about the one day I did drag. It was really bad. That's not part of this conversation. We're going to leave that to the professionals.
That's right. And there are some professionals, that's for sure.
Oh,
Incredible,
we
incredible.
have talent coming from Paris, France for this show. We have
Oh,
talent coming from Toronto from this show. We have talent coming from Vancouver from this show. We are going to blow this town away.
no kidding. Who's coming from Paris for this show?
The individual's name is Ruby Starlight, and they're the international voguing drag queen champion of Paris, France.
Oh my goodness.
Right? So
Oh,
excited.
oh yeah, yeah. Are you going to introduce me?
Yeah, for sure.
Because
No
I'll be
problem.
there.
Yeah. We've also
Oh
got
my
some
gosh.
really amazing local talent. I know people know
Yeah,
Randy
tons.
Andy. Randy Andy's in the show. Craig McKee, the magician, is in the show.
Yeah.
Circus Freaks is coming from Parksville to be in the show. And our host, of course, is the fantastic Connie Smudge, who was born and raised here, went to Wellington School, now lives in Vancouver as part of the Smudge Sisters with Vicky Smudge. And Vicky Smudge is an iconic legend here. The two of them will be hosting that night. So, there's no shortage of incredible, diverse, fun talent that's going to make people laugh out loud. And then we've got some talent that's heartwarming. Like we have a young girl who struggled in school. She was fortunate to be one of the kids that got into the flow program. She claims the flow program saved her life. She wrote a song in honor of what happened to her going through flow. The Nanaimo Ballet is dancing to that performance that night. It brings tears to my eyes every time I do a rehearsal with that set because it's so, not only is it heartfelt, but the message is so important. It's called Another Dawn, and it's really about her just making it through one more day. And I think that's what's going to happen. People are going to be laughing, they're going to be crying, but the message they're going to get is that it's about compassion and it's about dealing with stigma.
Yeah, yeah.
Stigma.
You know,
You asked me earlier on why Shine, and I can tell you that growing up being a homosexual in a time period where it wasn't accepted and dealing with that stigma, then getting full-blown AIDS and weighing in at 135 pounds and having lesions and people looking at me like I was a leper and having to deal with the stigma of that. Oh, my cat's here. And then having to deal with the stigma of just being HIV positive and the sort of the preconceived ideas about that. I know firsthand the destruction that stigma can do. That stigma led to mental health issues for me. It led to addiction. It led to attempted suicides. So if this project can open our doors and allow these young kids to see that they're worthy and they have value and that they don't have to be stigmatized, we've done our job here.
yeah, absolutely. I'm very moved by your story. And I think that our community has really no idea what a gift that you have become to our community. First of all, living it firsthand and understanding how difficult it is for people on the street. As you very eloquently pointed out earlier, nobody chooses that. It's somebody's daughter, somebody's son, it's somebody's brother, somebody's sister, somebody's family member who has felt so deep pain, such deep pain, that they've resorted, it's better to be on the street than to be home. And that cannot be easy for them or anyone. We have a huge population of people that are stuck on the opioid crisis. We know that there are not enough resources for the opioid crisis. There's not enough resources always. There's always a need in community. But this is where together we shine, because this is where community can come together on one evening, one night, and show the people that are suffering the most that they are loved, that they are important, and that they are valued. And what you just did by bringing Shine 2022 is you allowed people to be seen that are otherwise invisible. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. I am moved to tears every time we talk about this, because I just know how important it is for people. I
But you
mean,
see
I was
that,
lucky. I was not ever in a situation, but I knew so many people. I've known so many people that have been really, really put to task and had, I mean, yeah, hard.
Kathy, Kathy, I buried all my best friends. Like hundreds of thousands of gay men died. And then I had to look and go, well, why me? Why did I survive? Why do I have survival guilt? I know that part of creating Shine was part of my healing process.
Yeah.
You know, it allowed me to move away from the pain and turn that pain into hope and turn that despair into a gift back. And I think we've seen it in our community before, where we've watched people who have struggled through mental health and or addiction, and once they've got the support and the help they need, have turned around and given it back. I don't think I'm special. I think this is common trajectory for someone who's gone through what I've gone through. And I think when you do have a life-changing situation that is as devastating as what I went through, you don't come out the other side the same person.
No,
And
you sure don't.
I don't know that I actually would like the person that I was before this. I was kind of a wild disco child that was kind of self-involved, and now it's sort of I don't feel that I would ever want to be that person, but I also know that that comes from where I've come from.
Absolutely.
And it's not, it comes so easily now because I see how much people need support.
Well, and they do. And the good news about Shine is that this is one of hopefully many opportunities to come. It has not been an easy process. There's been hours and hours and hours of rehearsals by every performer that is coming to the stage. There's been hours of volunteer time that's been gifted by any number of the coordinators, by you yourself, by your colleague Vanessa Purdy, and by others on the team. Like, there is no question that this is really everybody shining as bright as they possibly can in the spirit of giving back to community. And by golly, what a spotlight that is. So I'm just, so delighted to hear
But
this.
we're also shining a spotlight on two recipients that are making sustainable changes in our community
Sustainable changes.
that
Yes.
need financing to continue these programs. There's federal cuts all the time. And this is my message to anyone who's listening. If you are the type of person who doesn't feel comfortable reaching out to someone on the street but would like to make a difference or give back, then reach out to AVI, reach out to Flow, make a donation, or see how you can volunteer and how can you support them. Because I can guarantee you, by supporting them, you're making changes to our youth on the street.
Absolutely. So now listen, this event is September the 17th, right? Starts at 6:30, something like that, to the Vancouver Island Convention Center. We talked a few minutes ago about how to get tickets, that being through www.togetherweshine.ca. What else can the community do to help support you at this point? Because there's still some gaps. What does that look like to you? How can those gaps be filled?
Well, I don't know that there's a lot of gaps, but I would like to say that there's never enough funding for the community in this area. And if you're listening to this and you feel that you'd like to contribute, we have saved 4 VIP tables. We're not filling them. We're saving them for sponsors that people give us cash donations. So if you're listening to this program and you feel that you've been touched or moved by what we're doing and you feel that it's worthy, please reach out to us. You can actually email me directly at info@volumestudio.ca. That's info@volumestudio.ca. If you're interested in being a corporate sponsor, we can guarantee we'll give you a couple seats at a VIP table. But at the end of the day, more financing for us means more food and more resources for the kids on the street.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things that AVI is doing right now is giving some of that food on the street. They have also, they're helping people that need water, sandwiches, like simple things, blankets, anything like that over time. We know that especially right now in the summertime, maybe it's not so much a necessity, but come the fall, it gets very cold outside. And so, reaching out to AVI and seeing how you can volunteer and be of support is also a great plan.
Well, and they have a safer clinic for, safe drugs. They have counseling. They have medical support. They've got an in-house practitioners and nurse practitioners. There's a multitude of resources there, and I cannot stress that no matter who you are, where you're from, your age, your race, your demographic, your gender, when you walk through the doors of AVI, you will be treated with the compassion and respect you deserve, and they will try their best to navigate to help you get better.
Yeah. And that also includes older adults because we are seeing now, we had just had a conversation actually, as I said last week, and there is a distinctly larger population of older adults that are going back into the closet
Mhm.
because they're moving out of their homes and they're moving into facility. And they are also finding themselves having to deal with some of the old, antiquated, systemic racism that goes with this. And so they're finding that people are now going back into the closet because it's safer for them to do so. And so AVI is working very hard on creating educational programs, not only for the youth, but for people of all ages who are at risk and finding ways to support people where they're at. And for me, to know that AVI was there in the 80s when it was, AIDS crisis, to have gone through COVID and all the things that have gone with that and how they have been able to pivot over this last 20, 25 years and to be able to do things within community at this broad level and broad range to me is phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
And it's crucially important. I don't know if you've been to the grocery store lately, but when you're buying a pound of butter for $7, who does that affect? The
Yeah.
people that are long-term survivors of HIV that might be on disability, or anyone who's on disability or has mental health issues that
Yeah.
has limited capacities to have an occupation or to have finance. As prices go up and as inflation goes up, these people are ending up being at the most risk. Some
Yeah.
people are one paycheck away from being on the street here. And I just know, and I cannot stress enough to this community, and if you're listening, that AVI is supporting a magnitude of people, and they need your funding. They need the support.
Yeah. Yeah. And Shine 2022 is one way that they can have it. Listen, we're just about to end our program. I can't believe our time is already almost up. Two things I need you to shout out again. I know we've said it many times. We're going to say it many times. And of course, if you're subscribing on the YouTube station, thanks for subscribing. You can donate as well. You don't have to be living right in Nanaimo. You can reach out and we'll happily find the venue for which you can get all the information you need so you can donate as well. Just look for us in the chat box. But, at the end of the day, I think it's really important that we do two things. Number one, our shout out. What do we need? What do we want? And when is all of this taking place? One more time. And then I always like to end the program with the kernel of wisdom. What is your kernel of wisdom? If you could imbibe it to the community, it doesn't have to necessarily be about Shine, but whatever it is that you want to share, this is the place to do it. So go ahead and share with people. How can they donate? How can they participate? Where can they get tickets?
Well, you can get tickets at www.togetherweshine.ca. If you'd like to make a donation, you can contact us directly at info@volumestudio.ca. And if I had one thing to say before we finish this amazing interview, besides thank you, obviously, Kathy, thank you so much for having me here today and being able to provide this platform for us to share this wonderful event. But I guess the one thing I would say is compassion. Just take the time and be compassionate and less stigma, and just open your ears and listen a little bit and see how you can make a difference.
Thank you so much, Jane. It's been a pleasure having you on Act 3. I can't wait to attend the event. I can't wait to get all dressed up and to see all of my friends there as well. And most importantly, to make sure that we're getting dollars into the hands of the people that need it the most. So thank you. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in to the show, Act Three on CHLY 101.7 FM. Always so glad that you tune in. Earlier in the program today, we talked about how you can also find out a little bit more about the program by watching on Shaw Cable 4. So up front is on the program right now. That tells you a lot of stuff. You get to meet Dean, and I have the pleasure of interviewing him as well, and people from AVI and also from the Flow program. So it's definitely a must see. And the Act 3 show on Shaw is out right now. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. Don't forget to share it with all your friends. We can't wait to shine 2022 on September the 17th. Please make sure you get your tickets right now. Have yourself a fantastic day. We'll see you next time on Act 3.